Many early Canadian aviation pioneers learned to fly because of World War I. Upon their return, many became bush pilots, flying mail and medical supplies to remote communities like Fort McMurray. One of those bush pilots was Canadian flying ace Wilfrid "Wap" May, whom many know simply as Wap.
When he was 6 years old, the family moved from Manitoba to Edmonton, from Carberry, Manitoba. And on the way, they stopped to visit family I think it was in Calgary, and there was a little 3-year-old girl there, Mary Swanson, and they said, "Say hello to your Uncle Wilfrid," and she tried to pronounce Wilfrid, and it came out Wappy.
Many recognize the name Wap May because in World War I he outran the Red Baron the day the Baron was shot down.
The Red Baron chasing my dad through the town of Vaux-sur-Somme in France, and there you can see my dad's plane. It's barely visible. The colors sort of blend into the hillside.
However, it was after the war where he continued his love of flying out of Edmonton, and it ended up bringing him and his family even further north, delivering vaccinations and other supplies as a bush pilot.
Well, when he started this company in 1927, Commercial Airways, they were teaching people how to fly then through the Edmonton Flying Club. And he did a lot of that, but after that he was not teaching new pilots anymore. They were doing mercy flights, they were delivering freight and delivering mail, picking people up to take them to the hospital in emergencies.
Fort McMurray didn't really have many pilots even considering moving up here, so he basically had a niche market. There was about 750 people here in town.
The family moved there in 1929, and I was born there in 1935. Well, actually, I was born here, but the family was living in Fort McMurray, so my first flight in an airplane was about a month after I was born, back to Fort McMurray on a very hot day, and I cried all the way, apparently.
And that flight wouldn't be like on a 747 jumbo jet that we travel on today. Oh no. Life of a bush pilot was dangerous work, as there were a few fatal crashes, but not many. The biggest problems, however, were the fact that these pilots were on their own and had no one to assist them if their aircraft needed repairs.
Every time he left, she had no idea whether she'd ever see him again. She had no idea where he was going. And if there was any problems, you had to stop and fix it yourself.
Very few towns had any sort of spot they could use as an airstrip or have one set up.
This is why in Fort McMurray, the Snai River became one of the busiest airports on water in Canada to accommodate these pilots. And you'll notice that the Snai is still used to this very day. Even though May is no longer with us, his son Denny continues to share his legacy, which lives on in many museums and historical sites right across Canada, including the observation deck at the Fort McMurray Airport and at Heritage Park.
We keep the memory alive, and it's great being part of that legacy now. I enjoy sharing the stories and telling my dad's story.
It's a story that showcases how the bush pilots were an integral part of developing the North, and Wap May was one of those pioneers. With another McMurray milestone, I'm Doug Roxburgh.